Good morning and welcome back to the Livingston Parish News Morning Show. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys joining us this morning, sneaking in just before the 8 a.m. hour. If you're watching us live on Facebook, we appreciate that. If you are watching us or listening to us later, we do upload these shows to www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast. We also put them on our coronavirus page since that's mostly what we're talking about anyway. But we do appreciate you joining us on those platforms as well. Want to remind folks that we do have a free part of our website, www.livingstonparishnews.com/coronavirus, where you can go get all the coronavirus information we're pushing out. Coronavirus. I said it 3 times fast. And it is free and open to the public. So please check that out. Again, www.livingstonparishnews.com/coronavirus. Getting into your traffic today. Today's the week. We have a pretty short show today. Not a whole lot has happened since Friday. Probably going to have a longer show tomorrow, though, because one of the discussions that will be had per the governor is a outline of what reopening the economy looks like. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. But right now, we have a lot of people who have started to go back to work. I-12 still looking relatively clear, as it has most mornings. However, Range and 190, you're looking at some delays there. You're also looking at delays at I-12 and Range Avenue. So some heavy delays there as folks do try to get up onto the interstate. Weather today, it's currently 52 degrees, beautiful day outside, and it's going to stay that way pretty much all day. 82 degrees is your high, so it's going to get warm. We're going to get about a 30-degree increase. Then it's going to fall off again about 25 degrees, 57 your overnight low. Again, it's currently 52, 82 degrees is your high, 57 your overnight low. Going through the coronavirus statistics for today that were updated yesterday at noon, that'd be Sunday. 26,773 cases, 1,670 deaths, 1,701 hospitalized on 265 ventilators. There are 14,927 Louisianians who are presumed recovered. That is a number that the Louisiana Department of Health has started to release. It's a very interesting number. They're not 100% confident in it, but they've taken a lot of things into account. To declare someone officially recovered would require extra testing, which is why they haven't produced a number up until now. Now they're getting to a point where people have had the virus for 14 days, showed symptoms, gotten into the hospital, been in the hospital for about a week, and spent about a week after. So you're looking at almost a month-long timeline before you can really declare people recovered without having to do a test. So it makes it difficult. It makes the timeline tedious, but we are starting to get those numbers pushed out via the Louisiana Department of Health. And that number again is 14,927. So that's a good sign. In Livingston Parish, you're looking at 182 cases, 11 deaths on 2,098 tests. So last week, the Louisiana Department of Health, the governor announced it, but the Louisiana Department of Health went back through their logistical process for accepting submitted tests from commercial labs. They found a lot of information wasn't correct. There were some duplicates, that sort of thing. So they went through and cleaned it up, and all of a sudden, Livingston Parish had 2,000 new tests, which is great. That means that people here are getting tested. And again, you're looking at 182 cases. Please don't take that first one. 182 cases with 11 deaths here in Livingston Parish. We talked about it earlier. We don't have a whole lot of details just yet other than that healthcare, expanded healthcare has reopened as of today. There are certain requirements that these places have to meet. I guess you can say the procedures that they're going to be allowed to do are going to be completely based on whether or not the doctor thinks they're necessary. So that, a lot of this is going to be elective procedures that probably became necessary during this healthcare lockdown that's been happening. A lot of people ask, well, why was healthcare locked down? Well, they were trying to save resources and space just in case we overwhelmed critical healthcare infrastructure. Now they're also trying to save PPE or personal protective equipment. Now they're trying to turn that back around. Now you must show that you have at least 5 days extra supply of PPE before you can even open a doctor's office. Most of that is because of the supply chain. Or, dental offices are also going to be opening too. Those are going to be for not necessarily elective surgeries, but procedures that are necessary. One of the things that Dr. Alex Bu said, who is the Assistant Secretary of the Louisiana Department of Health, is one of the things that they're concerned about with dental offices is getting folks back in to take care of cavities, wisdom teeth being removed, that sort of thing, because a lot of that can cause infection. Well, infection of your mouth, specifically your gums, is very close to your brain. And according to the doctor, if the infection gets bad, one of the places where it tends to spread first is in your brain, and that's no good. So doctors' offices are also going to be one of the first places to open back up. Now, what this looks like beyond expanded healthcare infrastructure, we expect to hear that from the governor this afternoon in his Monday press conference, at least some sort of guidelines and an idea of what will happen between Thursday, which is April 30th, and Friday, which is May 1st. So we're here. This is the week. This is the week where things are going to start reopening again. It'll be interesting to see how that works. Now, of course, Louisiana is taking a phased approach, whereas a lot of states, some other states, I can't say a lot, that's wrong. Some other states are taking more of we're just going to go open it back up, and if it gets bad, we're going to close it back down again. That would be Georgia and Florida seem to be taking those routes. Louisiana is going to be looking more at a task force, or it's more of a giant commission that the governor has formed that will split off into individual task forces, which we talked about last week, to look at individual industries and how to reopen them safely. And that's everything from large-scale construction, industrial, all the way down to, how are we going to open these hair salons, these nail places, that kind of thing back up. So they're going to be looking at a lot of that. They're going to, the governor wants the economy to reopen here in Louisiana, trying to get back on track. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. But again, please remember, we do give you constant updates of the governor's press conference on Twitter and on Facebook. We also share his live video. So if you want to watch it, you can, or you can follow my little live updates as we move through the press conference this afternoon. Please remember that the state has to have met a 14-day trend requirement per the federal coronavirus task force, which means that those metrics like number of new cases, number of new deaths, as well as number in the hospital are trending downward over a 14-day period. They give you a little leeway in there. It's over the 14-day period. It's a single 14-day period for all the metrics, but everything has to be trending downward. So we're hoping, keep your fingers crossed, that will continue through April 30th, and that on May 1st, things will start to reopen beyond just expanded healthcare infrastructure. Dr. Bill Cassidy, Senator Bill Cassidy, joined the governor on Friday to kind of give him an update on some of the things that were going on from the federal level. One of the big deals, we're going to come back to something that Dr. Bill Cassidy said, but one of the things he did discuss was that the Paycheck Protection Program has been, or not necessarily refunded, but more cash has been put into it for a second round of funding. Please remember that does begin today, April 27th, the new application period. If you have not been in touch with your banker leading up to this point and you're a small business owner out there, please get in touch with them ASAP. Like literally, as I am saying this, you need to be texting them, calling them, getting on the phone with them, making sure that your application is complete and making sure that they are going to submit it today. After what happened last time, which again, the Treasury came out and said a lot of these larger companies, especially publicly traded companies, will have until May 7th to give the money back that they took in good faith. And we will see what happens. According to Treasury Secretary Mnuchin, there will be consequences. Now, what that means, that's very open-ended, not entirely sure what that means. Just that there will be, if they find that some of these larger companies that pulled some clever accounting and business structure maneuvers to try to apply for and win this money, and a lot of them did, it'll be interesting to see if they return that money. Now, other things that are in the new funding round for the stimulus is more money for hospitals, and more money for testing. And that was one of the things that Senator Bill Cassidy talked about. When asked, what, as a doctor with your background, what would be the way that you would counter this? And he said, data, Every time a new sector of the economy is opening, you're looking at a 2-week period. Of course, that's your incubation period. And then what do my cases look like? What do my hospitalizations look like? That sort of thing. If you get a spike, you got to pull off a little bit. It doesn't necessarily mean that you've got to, cut the legs off and start back over, but you got to pull back a little bit. You got to try to see if you can keep that under control. Now, how do you, then he was asked, well, how do you keep that under control? And he brought up something that we've talked about several times on this show, and that the governor and Dr. Alex Bu have talked a lot about, and that is enhanced coronavirus testing as well as enhanced contact tracing. Dr. Bill Cassidy went so far as to say you should be knocking on doors. The minute you see a community, a specific area of a community that has a spike, a specific neighborhood, you're starting to go door to door. You're doing testing. You're finding out who those people have been around. Of course, there's some problems with that in that, the state is doing coronavirus testing roughly in the 150 to 200,000 range in 6 weeks. They need to be to the 200,000 to 250,000 range in 4 weeks. So there's work to do there. A lot of that has to do with supply, so they're going to be working on that. This new round of funding should help. With regard to contact tracing, however, the Louisiana Department of Health announced that they had 70 people working on that and they needed 700. So there's still about 600 people shy of being able to affect that contact tracing, which is what the senator was talking about in terms of staying on top of, especially if you have a spike, the coronavirus. So there's a lot of improvements that need to happen going forward. But Dr. Bill Cassidy was basically lockstep with the governor and the process that the state has been going through to try to stay on top of this and reopen the economy. So please want to remind folks, testing is going to ramp up, especially in the month of May. But want to remind those small business owners that do watch this show, please remember PPP was refunded. If you didn't get it in round one, please check with your banker. Make sure that your application is complete, and is being submitted today. Over the weekend, a large distribution of cloth masks happened in Livingston Parish. These were masks that were donated and then funneled through the Department of Homeland Security and distributed to 9 sites throughout Livingston Parish. Reports were that most of these sites ran out of cloth masks by about 11 a.m. Distribution opened at 8 a.m. So they were very much high demand. The CDC, as part of their mitigation efforts, and we're going to go over those in a second, has recommended that individuals at least wear a cloth mask in public, that it helps them and it helps protect their neighbor as long as both people are, and if both people are wearing a mask, it increases that protection. So it's a good idea to wear those masks in public. ExxonMobil has modified their facilities, specifically several facilities in Louisiana, to produce medical-grade hand sanitizer. Right now, they're looking in the first 2 weeks to fill 5 million 4-ounce bottles, so that's quite a bit, to try to help push back up supply that has been woefully low. If you've been to any kind of, Walmart, they usually fly off the shelves. Any kind of local grocery store or Walgreens, they tend to do the same thing, or CVS if that's where you go, or any kind of local pharmacy. Going over those mitigation efforts, I want to talk about those real quick. Please remember to wash your hands for 20 seconds or more with soap and water. Disinfect common surfaces at home and at the office. Please remember to control your cough with an elbow or a tissue. Wear a mask in public. Please remember, don't touch your face. That's a big one. Please remember to try to work from home if at all possible. If you must work at the office, please remember to keep gatherings to 10 or less, preferably less. Please also remember to stay home if you are sick and contact your doctor via telehealth. One last time, let's go over these statistics real quick. 26,773 cases in Louisiana, 1,670 deaths, 1,701 hospitalized on 265 ventilators, 182 cases in Livingston Parish, 11 deaths, and 2,098 tests. So those tests did spike up. Want to remind folks, excuse me, this weather cannot keep doing this. Want to remind folks, 14,927 people have recovered. Please remember, this is about timelines, and the state does not have enough tests to test people once they're leaving the hospital to make sure that they are clear. So you have to wait a certain amount of time before you can declare where they are symptom-free and without fever before you can say, okay, they are recovered. The state has announced that they're not extremely confident in that number, but it's a number they're willing to put out there as this is what we think based on when we had some of our first cases and flowing through from there. So again, 14,927 Louisianians have recovered from COVID-19. Currently, your traffic, I-12 looking clear, but you are looking at some delays now stacking up at 4H Club Road, River Road, and 190. You're also looking at delays at Range and 190. Also some delays at I-12 and Range Avenue. So people are getting up on the interstate, but those delays aren't really stacking up like they normally do. Not as many people going to work here during this stay-at-home order, which again is supposed to end Thursday. We'll talk one last time about that in a second. 52 degrees is your current temperature. 82 degrees going to be your high today. 57 your overnight low. So like I said, the weather's just doing this, which is wreaking havoc on my allergies. So please remember, it is going to get warm today. While you might have walked outside and been like, ooh, it's chilly, it's a little crisp. And it is, and it's a beautiful day. It is going to warm up. So it's going to get warm about midday. Lots of sunshine today. Want to remind folks that the governor's press conference this afternoon will be focused on reopening the economy. Please remember that we do have a sort of play-by-play on our Facebook page, as well as sharing his live video if you'd like to check those out. We will, of course, have our normal write-ups after the press conference. One last time, my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys joining us this morning for the Livingston Parish News Morning Show. Please remember we're on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We are once a week in print on Thursdays. That's $7 a month to get that in your mailbox. This Thursday will be our subscribers bonus 5th edition. For the month of April, you get 52 editions a year every Thursday. We are also online, www.livingstonparishnews.com. We do have a coronavirus section, which is free, and also we upload these shows to our podcast section. Thanks again for joining us. We do hope you enjoy this beautiful day, and we will be back with you tomorrow, hopefully for a longer show to talk about what it's going to look like going forward as we barrel towards Thursday to reopen the economy. Have a great day.